In this next video, we'll be making our RISE course function with xAPI. So the first thing that you'll want to do is go to the course that you want to track with xAPI, and you'll want to click on the export button. We're going to be exporting for the web. So in this example, I'm using xAPI and RISE to track experience that lives outside of a learning management system. So maybe this course is being used as a performance support tool. So perhaps someone's coming to it for one specific reason or using it in their learning moment of need instead of going through a whole course and then trying to reflect on things. So you can also do this with the learning management system option, but just for today's example, we're going to keep it simple and use it for web. So I have web selected, and then I'm going to click on export, and then this will be exporting my course. So you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, the RISE tool is downloading a zip for me. Then I want to go to my downloads or wherever you have your file being saved to, and I'm going to open that zip. In this example, what we're going to be editing is the index.html file. So you might remember from the first video that we edited an xAPI.js file and another xAPI wrapper file. Another thing that we're going to do is we're going to go navigate to that file, those files, which I have in my downloads, and I'm going to place those into my folder with the other examples from RISE. And it might be best to copy and paste that just so in case you need to republish, it'll be easier to put them in and you won't have to redo them. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open the index.html file with a text editor. And like I said before, I'm using Sublime Text, but you can use any type of text editor. Here you'll see a bunch of things. You'll see the title of the course, which you could edit from here, and you'll see a bunch of styling, which helps to style the course, and some other things that make up the course here. We're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and where we're going to put our script is we're going to put it right after this main.bundle.js script. So I'm just going to put a space there, and that's where we'll be placing everything. You can do this other ways too, but this is just going to be the quickest way to show you how to do this. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to grab some code that is on my GitHub. So if you come over here to my GitHub, I have several different scripts here. I have one to be used in Storyline, one for just doing page views in RISE, and then I have another one here that is for page views and clicks within RISE. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll grab all of this code here, and you're going to copy it and then go back to your file, and then you're going to paste it into here. And something I might do just for consistency's sake is move some of these over so they're all aligned with the other script tags. So our script's going to officially begin here and then end here. And then these are the scripts that are going to make everything work. And so I have jQuery up here, I have the crypto.js here, and I have the xAPI wrapper and xAPI.js here. So you can see these are a little bit shorter because they're stored locally within this folder. And these we're linking out to. But if for any reason you need to download these and add them in, you'll just change them to be local like these, or you may have them hosted somewhere else and want to append them here. So these are the scripts that make everything work together so that we can send a statement over to the Learning Record Store. Now down here we have several different things going on. The first thing that I'm going to show you here is we have some if statements. So for these if statements, what happens is when you access the page, the script is checking for if your page URL is exactly something, and that's what you're going to put on here. Then after, if it is that exact URL, then what happens is it's going to send an xAPI statement that says whatever you have it say here. So for instance, I'll go ahead and edit this so that you can take a look at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this index.html and I'm going to view it in Google Chrome, and you'll be able to see when things change. So on each of these pages, you'll notice that there is a different URL. So as I change it, it changes up here. And it doesn't change in a split second, it doesn't change immediately. So I also have a timer set so that when the script runs, it checks it after about, I think, 1 second or something like that, to see when it changes. So let's say that we want to track the 5 weeks to a healthier you. What I would do is I'd come up here and grab this URL, and then I'm going to place it in here. And this will happen when the page loads for the first time, or if it will happen when the person clicks from one page to another page. So we have it happening when a page loads for the first time, just in case someone sends someone that exact page and they don't access it from within the RISE file itself. So with this, what it's saying is when someone accesses this page, it's going to grab the location of the address that's up at the top in the address bar, and then if that page equals this exact URL, then send this statement to the Learning Record Store. So for this piece, the page piece, you may be wondering what that's about. So everywhere where it says page in white on here, it is putting that as the page ID for that specific statement. So a statement is, these statements are made up of the URL for the verb, which we're using the ID for ADL, which should be consistent. The verb, which we're using the verb experienced. The activity ID or object ID, which is pulling from the page itself, and that always needs to be unique to the statement. And then we're having a bit of a description that's here. So this one says gauging your wellness, but we'll need to change that. And then where it's, I usually use this piece for where it's located. So or the type of course or material it's in. So I'm just putting in the RISE course. So we need to edit this because we don't want it to say experienced gauging your wellness, because that's not the page that it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to copy this because I want it to say this. So when it sends over, it will say 5 weeks to a healthier you. So so-and-so experienced 5 weeks to a healthier you in the RISE course. And maybe I don't want it to say in the RISE course, maybe I want it to say Employee Health and Wellness course. So I can come over here and change this to Employee Health and Wellness course. And I'll probably want to keep that consistent across all of my statements here. So that's how you would track access of this page. Let's go ahead and see it in action. So I'm going to go over back to this screen, and I'm going to come down here to gauging your wellness. I'm going to refresh. I just want to refresh to be sure. And then what I like to do just to make sure that I can see if the xAPI is working is I right click on Google Chrome and go to inspect. And then I look at the console to see if things are working. And I'm going to move mine down to the bottom because it'll make it a little easier for me to see. So I will click on the second tab here, console, and then I'll go to 5 weeks to a healthier you. And we can see here there's a little pop-up in yellow, a tag here. So that's usually a good sign when you're working with this way of connecting to the Learning Record Store. It usually indicates that a statement was sending, but if there are any issues, the errors will be logged in here and will help you troubleshoot what the issues are. So I'll go back over to my Learning Locker and go to source, and then I can see that I had experienced 5 weeks to a healthier you. And if you expand this in here, you'll see some additional information. And all of this information, if you are in Learning Locker, is available to visualize, or you can download to CSV here. And so you can get a lot more data through that. So next up, we're going to cover how to track clickable interactions. So I'm going to go back over to my script here. And what I'm going to do is I have this additional if statement here, and just because it's kind of in the way, I'm going to get rid of it. So for this, let's work on this page here. So we want to track another page click possibly, and maybe we also want to track something that's happened in that page. So this one I have specifically for tracking click on tab interactions, and we can do that, and then let's also do an accordion as well. So what we're going to do for this next part of the video is go to the page that has the interactions that we want to track. So I'm going to exit out of my console here, and then I think that they were down in managing stress. So I'm going to scroll down here, and so you'll see there's several tab interactions here, and I already have this set up to track, so there's not too much we have to do. I can just explain this and then we can track the accordion as well. So when the person clicks on these different tabs, it will send a statement over to the Learning Records store that they clicked on those things. And you know what? It's not working because I think I have something changed in here. Oh, I didn't put in the URL. So we have to grab the URL for that exact page. So that's going to be here. And you'll need to change this URL based on wherever you have the page hosted to. So I went ahead and did that. And now when I go ahead and play this, we should be able to see statement sending. So I'll go back to inspect just to see what happens. And then I'm going to refresh just to be sure. Scroll down here. And now when I click on these, hopefully it's sending statements. So I'm going to come back over here, refresh, and you can see I also have the page listed as stress, so I may want to change that. And I clicked on the tab 2 and tab 3 interactions. And so what I want to do now is I'm going to go back to that file and probably clean this up. So I want to call that statement managing stress instead of stress. And then I'm also going to, for consistency, copy the description. And you can always make this code a lot better. So I could pass this through a variable so that I don't have to write it every time. There's a lot of ways you can make the code better, but for now, this is what we have. Another thing that I might do is maybe I want the word tab to be capitalized, so I can go ahead and save that. So this looks pretty good. So the person experienced managing stress, and then we might say in the, and I always try to craft my statements before I get into doing this because it helps you a ton to have them ready, and then you can QA them before you go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go ahead and reload. I'm going to come over here, come back over here. It's probably going to send a bunch of stuff. Come over here, and we can see managing stress is up here. So then what we want to do is talk a little bit about what happens with these tabs and then track the accordions down here. So when the person clicks on the tab interactions, what's happening is we have a function that knows what those specific class for those tabs is, and you're already within this page itself. So what it's doing is sending a statement when you're in the page and then listening to see if you have clicked on those specific tabs, which are called blocks dash tabs underscore header dash item. And I can show you exactly where that is. So in web development, in order to identify specific elements on a page, they have names. So here you can see these are the names. And what I'll do is probably make a list of these so folks who aren't really into coding or anything like that, I'll make a list so that you don't have to inspect and look for exactly how to track this, and you can just copy and paste. So for these, you don't have to worry too much about it, but that's what their name is. And you can see the different names within the scripts here when you inspect them. So if we go back over to our code here, what happens is this function here happens through this. So what it's doing is it's injecting each of those tabs with a specific identifier so that we can identify when someone clicked on each one. And then what it's doing is adding a number to each one, and it goes in the order that they are on the page. And we'll do the same thing with the accordions as well. So then we already have it set to the verb experienced, so you can't really change the verb in this case unless you come in and edit the code. And then we're going to have the same thing for the accordions. So if I go up here and I want to track the accordions, I'm going to go ahead and click or copy this, and I'm going to paste this in. Oops. And then I need to get the class for the accordions, and I want to say accordion, and maybe you want to call them something else. And I'm going to change this. This is a comment here, so it lets you know what the person is doing. So tracking click on accordion components. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find the class for these. So I'm going to inspect this and see what it is. So I think, let's see, we want to get each individual one. And I think, let's see, when it changes, it should be blocks accordion item. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and that's the class. And classes are indicated by a dot, so that's how it will find it. So dot blocks dash accordion underscore item. So that's what that should be called. I'm going to save that. And now when we click on these accordions, it should also track the click on each of those as well. So let's go ahead and refresh, come back down to managing stress. We'll come down here and let's see if that was correct. So we'll click, and then if we go over to Learning Locker and refresh, we can see the user experienced accordion 1. And maybe we also want to make sure that the person clicked accordion 2. Let's see what that looks like. Go back here and refresh, accordion 2. And then maybe we also want to see that they clicked on the tabs. So let's go over here, click on a few tabs, update. We can see they did tab 1, or they did tab 2, tab 3, and then tab 1 again. And so that's pretty much it for looking at clicks within Articulate Rise. And the nice thing about this script too is that it knows exactly what page you're on, so it will also fill that information in. So if we come back over to Learning Locker and we look at this and we look at the ID for that object, so the object ID is the way that we identify that specific statement. We can see that it added the tab 1 to this, so it's making that statement specific, and we don't have to manually type that in too, which is really great. And then you can see the rest of the information in here, such as the name, which is tab 1, the description, which is in the Rise course, which that should not be the description, but I think what happened was we probably need to change it here. Yeah. So always another reason why you want to test beforehand. So I'm going to go down here and then change this to what we actually want it to be. So down there, and we say in the Employee Health and Wellness course. So this makes it really easy because we don't have to write a statement over and over again. It just fills in the information for us, and we have that in there now, so it should be correct. So that's the tutorial on how to track page views and interactions in Rise. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any great ways of improving the script or if you have any questions. Thanks.